Alright, what's going on, guys? Today, we are releasing the Vorkath guide. I did it for a couple hours on stream, and I have a pretty good grasp of the mechanics and what you can expect during the fight, so let's get into it. For our gear, we have a Salve Amulet. Vorkath is an undead. Vorkath is notably not considered a dragon for Dragon Slayer and Dragon Slayer Sigil and stuff like that, so just keep that in mind. We also have full tier 90 tank gear. You can use power gear if you want. Neither Vorkath nor Zemragul are poisonable, so you do not want to bring Cinderbanes. If you have tier 90 power armor, that's an option, but you don't need it. I did notice that you don't have 100% accuracy against Vorkath and Zemragul, so you don't want to bring a Reaver's Ring, really, at least not without tier 95 gear. If you have tier 95 gear, you can bring a Reaver's Ring, but without it, you really don't want to bring that. Consequently, we're using Luck of the Dwarves. A 6-stage circuit is better. I just don't have mine right now, so that's why I'm using Luck of the Dwarves. I'm running tier 90 weapons. I am bringing a Tzkal-zuk cape. This isn't mandatory, but it helps out quite a bit for getting your kills. Why did I just get logged out? Okay, we're back. I just got force logged. I don't know why that happened. And then we have a Scripture of Jazz. I imagine that at this point, most people have a scripture of some kind. Either a Scripture of Jazz or a Scripture of Wen or something of that nature. So I'm just bringing a Scripture of Jazz because I know a lot of people picked it up for the Racial guide, so that's why I have it. Now for our inventory, we're bringing an Overload and a Replenishment Potion. You don't need this Replenishment Potion, it's just nice for damage. It lets you do your full Death Skulls rotation when you get the chance to. We're bringing 3 Super Restores. I've only used 1 per fight, but if these fights are taking you a little bit longer, then you bring the extras, it's just a little bit safer. I have an Ancient Elven Ritual Shard and an Enhanced Excalibur. Again, you don't need these, but these are nice. If you're not going to bring these, then just bring another full Super Restore and a Sailfish or something. That's totally fine. Or you can bring like a Shark. It's just 1, so it doesn't really matter. For our familiar, we're bringing a Ripper Demon. You can bring pretty much any of the ancient summoning familiars. You can also bring an Ice Nihil because you do have accuracy issues here. An Ice Nihil might even be the best option. I haven't tested it yet, but I imagine an Ice Nihil is going to be a little bit better than a Ripper Demon. Yeah, any of those options work. So if you want to bring a Hellhound, you can bring a Hellhound. If you want to bring a Blood Reaver for the sustain, you can bring a Blood Reaver. If you want to bring a Ripper Demons are good. If you want to bring an Ice Nihil, that's fine as well. We are bringing Ceradomin Brews and Blue Blubbers. This is just a good combination of food, so that's a no-brainer. I haven't made the Nexus yet, but honestly, you don't need the inventory space. A lot of these kills I'm doing as no food kills, so you don't really need the inventory space. So if you want to just knock out your 100 kills to get Zemragul's Nexus, then you can do that. If you don't want to do that, you can make your other one, but at least for this boss, you have a lot of extra inventory space because you don't really need to eat all. In my ammo slot, I'm bringing a Rune Pouch. Honestly, I never remember to use Disruption Shield here, so you don't really need this. This is just here, honestly, for the prayer bonus. If you can remember to use Prism of Restoration, it does matter a lot here because regardless of what familiar you use, they will almost die. And then if your damage is low, they will just die. So do remember to use your Prism of Restoration, because if you take 3 Icebox mechanics, then your familiar is going to die. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, that pretty much goes into the gear setup. Once you finish the quest, this is where you're going to go to start the fight. You can just inspect it, and then it brings up this interface. So there's 2 ways to do this beginning part. You can either break all of the portals and then have 2 less mechanics to deal with, or you can deal with the mechanics. Either works. So we're going to show both of those in this, and so you can see kind of what the difficulty difference is going to look like. Here, we're going to summon our Ripper Demon. We're going to go in. We're going to use Darkness.
Destroy this rat hole.
Summon our Familiars. Use Invoke Death. And then we're going to use Skulls on this Undead Giant. We're going to use Skulls, Bloat, and then we're going to build up Adrenaline to 60%. And then we're going to use Reflect. You don't need to build it to 60. I just don't like using Reflect super early because not all of the minions around here are hitting you. So after this Touch of Death cast, we're going to cast Finger of Death. And then we're just going to wait for him to die. Disrupt Place of Power. And then we're going to start moving to the next place, which is this one. Once we're on the bridge, we're going to invoke Death. Q Touch of Death and hit this guy. Cast Bloat as we're walking away. We're going to use Reflect. Threads of Fate, Volley of Souls, Soul Sap, Volley of Souls. Resummon all of our guys. Finger of Death. And then after we activate Ghost, we're just going to use basics. I'm going to activate Excalibur here because our health is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be. Going to disrupt this. Going to invoke Death again. Start using basics on this guy. Restore our prayer here. We're going to use Reflect. So here your stacks don't transfer into the next part of the fight. So you just want to use all of your stacking abilities. Okay, so that's dead. We disrupt this last power. Now we're going to get into the fight. Alright, so first I'm going to explain all of the mechanics that you're going to see in this fight, and then as the video is playing, we will go over in real time exactly what Vorkath is doing. So phase 1 of the fight starts immediately, and it will last until Vorkath has 575,000 health, or until he's gone through a set rotation. This rotation is 4 auto attacks, Dragon Breath, 4 auto attacks, Icebox, 4 auto attacks. Once he's done all of that, or once he's hit 575k, he will start attacking Zemragul. So right at the beginning of the fight, we are going to Deathmark, Threads of Fate, and then Soul Sap. What this will do is it will put Deathmark on both Vorkath and Zemragul and give us 2 stacks of residual souls. So at this point, we're just going to hit Vorkath. We're going to use Skulls. This is the 3rd auto attack. This is the 4th one. So this is the Dragon Breath attack. I don't know exactly what its accuracy is, but what it seems like from the testing I've done is that this has 100% accuracy, but it is affected by darkness. So this ability misses frequently enough that using darkness here is really good. Also, you'll notice that I am soul split flicking. Zemragul's auto attack is desynced from Vorkath's. So when you're soul split flicking, it's important to look at Zemragul and press your deflect necro basically as soon as Zemragul starts moving his hands. This timing is a little bit tight, but once you get used to it, it'll work out. If you don't want to soul split flick at all, you can just leave on deflect necromancy and then just eat a little bit of food. If you soul split flick, your food usage is basically 0. So here you can see the Dragon Breath missed. So that's 1 auto attack, 2, 3, 4. So this is the Icebox mechanic. Now, when this mechanic happens, you want to start walking away and anticipate, and then that just completely dodges this mechanic. Once the 3rd spikes have spawned, you can go back in. Now, at this point, this is when I like to use Living Death, just because we don't have to move anymore. So this is a really good place to use Living Death rotation. Here's another Dragon Breath attack. As you can see, it missed again. So during special attacks, Vorkath can't cancel his rotation. So while Dragon Breath was queued, that's when we had hit the threshold. So that's why you'll see he starts this hitting Zemragul after he's already way under the threshold. That's what happened there. So phase 2 lasts from 575k to around 380k. It's hard for me to tell whether or not it's 375 or 380k, but my testing seems to suggest that phase 3 starts at 380k. The rotation here is 4 auto attacks, Dragon Breath, 4 auto attacks, Icebox, hit Zemragul. If you hit 380k before this rotation finishes, Vorkath will immediately stop and go into hitting Zemragul. So now he's going to hit Zemragul. Zemragul's also hitting us. Now Zemragul turns away, which means we get a little bit to just Soul Split for free. So we're just going through our Living Death rotation still, making sure we press our Death Skulls. Now Vorkath's going to Dragon Breath here, and then he's under the 380k threshold, so we're going into phase 3. Now, because of the way we phased him last time, he ended up being way under the threshold before he started hitting Zemragul. Naturally, this means that there was a lot less time of him going through his rotation between phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 3 is really short, and it's mostly just a transitionary phase for the rest of the fight. Once Vorkath has hit Zemragul a second time, he will auto attack twice, fly away. Then once he comes back, he will auto attack once, and then he will loop the following rotation until his HP reaches 0. That rotation is Dragon Breath, 4 autos, Icebox, 4 autos, Acid Rain, 4 autos. Now, during this flight, if you do not knock Vorkath out of the air, he will do an ice attack that will hit the entire map, and it'll do around 7,000 damage. If you use the special action button, it will knock Vorkath down, and it'll hit him for 10k. You can actually use this special action button pretty liberally because it has a pretty short cooldown. It's 15 or 20 seconds, I'm not exactly sure. But I choose not to use it because I want to be absolutely sure it's off cooldown for this part. Whenever you use it, it will hit Vorkath for 10k. It will hit Zemragul for 10k if he's not damage immune. And if there are any minions on the map, it will also hit them for 10k. So here you can see Vorkath's continuing to hit Zemragul pretty hard. Then he's going to auto attack us twice. And then he's going to fly in the air. At this point, we just activate the special action button, and then it automatically deals with this attack. At this point, Zemragul doesn't do that much damage to him all by himself, so you can either Soul Split or deflect Necromancy or Soul Split Flick. Either way, you'll be okay. You're not going to be taking that much damage. So now, Vorkath's going to auto attack us once, and then he's going to do his breath attack. So you can see that's why I was praying magic every time he did his breath attack. It was because when it actually does hit, it does a good amount of magic damage. So this is his 4th auto attack. Now he's going to Icebox. Same as before, where it's going to walk away, anticipate. Walk back in. So now you'll see that Zemragul is channeling this like red thing. This is the Blood Siphon ability that we have. When Vorkath does his Acid Rain attack, as soon as the acid pools land, Zemragul will release the Blood Siphon and it'll hit you for around 4 or 5k if you're not protecting Necro. If you are protecting Necro, it hits a lot less. What I normally do is I just pray Devotion and then you don't have to deal with it. So this is the Acid Rain. Here I use Devotion. So he drops all these acid pools. When the acid pools land, they last forever as far as I know, and they do poison damage if you stand on them. Just don't stand on them. Problem solved. So you see he has 3 stacks of residual souls. That is Volley of Souls the same way it's like our ability, so he can just use Volley of Souls. Also, when I dove away from him earlier, that was because he used Death Skulls. You can either just tank it, or you can dive away. It functions the exact same as ours, where it needs to be able to bounce back to him in order to do damage to us. It's not a huge deal. It doesn't do that much damage, especially on normal mode, so you can just tank it. And now we just keep using abilities. During this point of the fight, he stops really doing damage to us. So I still Soul Split Flick, but if you wanted to, you can either just Soul Split and eat if you drop too low, or just deflect Necromancy and eat if you drop too low. It's not a big deal. Also, you can see our Ripper Demon is really low. That's because the Icebox ability does damage your familiar. So that's something to keep in mind. This is why you would use Prism of Restoration. Okay, so now we're going to do a kill where we skip the first 2 portals and go straight to the last portal. One of the good things about this is that we do save ourselves a good amount of damage, but how much damage we take in this part is pretty RNG dependent anyways, so it's hard to say how much health you really save anyways. We'll just make sure that we activate our guys, we death mark, then we go over to this guy. Then we're just going to instantly reflect here.
Yes! All lesser beings shall...
Something to keep in mind too is that this guy is melee, so it is worth it to like drag him near other enemies so that you could use Scythe, for instance. You don't have to, but it does help your healing and it helps your damage as well.
Make ready to bid this squalid hovel farewell.
Okay, same opening as before. We're going to invoke Death, Threads of Fate, and Soul Sap here. Then we're going to use Death Skulls. Just counting auto attacks. 3, 4. Now he's going to use Breath. Right, magic there. So you can see he is summoning minions now. That's one of the mechanics you get from not killing the portals. It's important that you kill these purple ghosts. I took a while to kill it here because I wasn't really paying attention. The other mechanic is that black smoke you saw around me. It summons those ice spikes. It does around 2200 typeless damage. It doesn't follow you or anything, so as soon as you see the smoke, you can just dive out of it. Also, you saw I used the arrow spec to kill the ghost, and then it did a bunch of damage to all the other guys. You can use it decently liberally here. Okay, so 1 auto attack, 2 auto attacks, 3 auto attacks, 4 auto attacks. It's gonna use Breath.
Be gone, gnawing pest.
1 auto attacks, 2 auto attacks, and now he's hitting Zemragul. So now the rotation basically starts over, so it starts at the point where he does his 2 autos here. So 1 auto attack, 2 auto attacks, and now he's gonna fly. So now we can just hit Zemragul. We do the Ballista to make sure that Vorkath doesn't do a special attack.
Why do you bother to test me?
So when you do the Ballista to knock down Vorkath, it doesn't hit everyone, it only hits Vorkath.
Test my patience.
Just dodge the spikes there. Vorkath's gonna do his Breath. So this whole time I messed up. I didn't realize I was still targeting Zemragul. So at some point I realize it and I start hitting Vorkath again. It's around the time he starts Acid Rain, yep.
Why do you bother to test
So
me?
we're gonna dodge those spikes. And we're just gonna hit Vorkath now. 2 autos. 3 autos. 4 autos.
Suffocate this.
Now he's gonna do Acid Rain.
No escape, you puny knave.
So when he says no escape, you puny knave, that's when he casts Death Skulls. You saw I tanked it and it just didn't really do anything. So there, my familiar got hit by a 3rd icebox and then it died. That's what I was saying earlier. It's really important to make sure that you either don't let it get hit by the 3rd icebox or that you bring Prism of Restoration. We just dodged the black smoke that he sent after us. Here's another Acid Rain. Now, this boss does have a soft time limit on it because of the Acid Rain, where eventually the whole map will get covered, and that's really bad. So just keep that in mind.
No? Fine then. Run, you loathsome iniquity.
So now, we're just hitting him. He doesn't really do any damage here, so we don't really care. We did use threads because there was a ton of enemies around him. Just dive out of the way.
Of your blood and be
And that is another Zemragul kill.